Hello, my name is Mrs. Hott. I teach trigonometry, precalculus, calculus, and algebra 2 here at the TCTC. One of the topics that I find that students have difficulty with is factoring trinomials. So I wanted to give you some hints about that, and I wanted to show you some examples of ways that you can factor trinomials. So if you look at a trinomial contains an x squared term, an x term, and a number usually. So we're going to look at how we can factor those. Well, the first thing you want to take a look at are what signs are contained in the problem. So you'll notice that this trinomial here contains all positives. So what that tells me when I'm going to factor this, my job is to take this and figure out two things that multiply together that give me x squared plus 7x plus 10. So that's what I'm looking for, two things that multiply together to give me that. So some teachers call the multiplication of those things foiling, so you can kind of think of it as unfoiling or dividing out these particular quantities. So what we're looking for is something that if I multiply together I'll get x squared, so that would be x and x. And if your first term is an x squared, that's usually the easiest type to break down. And then our second term here is a 10. So we're looking for the factors of 10 that will add up to 7. So if you look at this particular number, 10 is a number that's very easy to break down. If you think about pairs of two numbers that will multiply to give you 10, we only have two possibilities. If we're looking at integers, that would be 10 and 1 or 5 and 2. Now we need to find the one that adds up to 7. That's where our middle term comes into play. Well, the pair that adds up to 7 is 5 and 2. So that tells me that a 5 and a 2 will go there. And we want to add to 2. Just look at your back number. If the back number is positive, you are adding to get the center. If your back number is negative, you're subtracting to get the center. So here we can see that. Now we have to look at the signs. Two positives multiplied together will give us a positive and add to a positive. So I always tell my students, if the back number is positive, look to the center sign. That's what's in both. If you take a look at this problem, the back sign is positive, but we have a center sign of negative. So in this particular case, we'll have a negative in both. Now we're still adding the factors of 12 that will give us 8, but this time we're going to end up with a negative 8. So think about the number 12. The pairs that make 12 when we multiply together, there's a few more than there were for 10. 12 and 1 is a possibility. 3 and 4 and 6 and 2. Those are the only integers that we can multiply together that will give us 12. So you look at the possibilities, and you're looking for the ones that add up to 8. Well, the only ones that add up to 8 are 6 and 2. So what do we do with those numbers? Well, you look at your front number. Since it was an x squared, that's x and x. 6 and 2 are going to go there. If our back sign is a negative, positively you have one sign that is positive and one sign that is negative. That's the case for that problem and also that problem. Now this time for the bottom two problems, we're going to be subtracting to find our center term. So we're going to break down 40, and we're going to look to see what gives me 18. So we have lots of things that make 40. So you can kind of go down the list. And we're looking for those things that subtract to give me 18. And that would be 20 and 2. Subtract to give me 18. Now I want a negative 18. That negative tells me that I need this bigger number to be a negative. So we're going to put the negative with the 20, the positive with the 2. My x squared breaks up to be x and x. Now remember, you can FOIL this out. Do your first inner, outer, last multiplication to see that it works. We get x squared minus 20x plus 2x minus 40, which when simplified gives us the original result. Let's look at this one. We're looking for 54, the factors of 54 that will give us 3. So we know it's x and x. And now if you look at 54, start breaking it down. But I know To shorten things up a little bit, we've got 9 and 6. And so where do the 9 and 6 go? This time we want a positive 3. So they subtract to give us 3. So we want a 9, the larger value, to go with the positive, and the shorter value, the smaller value, to go with the negative.